There's a kind of freedom most people never taste. A freedom that doesn't come from money, fame, or even opportunity. It's the freedom that begins when you finally take charge of yourself. The real freedom begins when you master your mind, your habits, and your emotions. When you learn the power of self-discipline, because until you control yourself, someone or something else will always be in control of you. Let me ask you something. How many times have you said, "I'll start tomorrow"? How many dreams have died waiting for the perfect moment? You see, we don't lose because we lack potential. We lose because we lack discipline. The chains that hold most people aren't made of iron. They're made of excuses, distractions, and delayed decisions. The enemy isn't out there. It's in here. The battlefield of freedom begins within your own mind. There was a young man I once met who wanted to become a great musician. He had the passion, the talents, the dream. But every time he sat down to practice, he found a reason to quit early. He'd say, "I'll play later," or "I'm not feeling it today." And every later turned into weeks. Every excuse became a wall. Years passed, and his dream faded into regret. But here's the truth. He didn't fail because he lacked abilities. He failed because he never mastered himself. The greatest prisons are built not by bars, but by habits of comfort. Discipline isn't punishment, it's power. It's the bridge between where you are and where you were born to be. When you master yourself, you unlock something unstoppable inside you. You start showing up when you don't feel like it. You start saying no to distractions and yes to your destiny. You stop waiting for motivation because discipline becomes your daily fuel. That's real freedom. The freedom to choose your response instead of being ruled by your feelings. There was a time in my life when I thought freedom meant doing whatever I wanted. I believed that if I didn't feel like working, I didn't have it. If I didn't want to show up, I wouldn't. But what I didn't realize was that this so-called freedom was destroying me. I was a slave to my moods, my laziness, my fears. I had to face a hard truth. If you can't say no to yourself, you will always say yes to mediocrity. And mediocrity is expensive. It costs you your dreams. I remember the day I decided enough was enough. I stood in front of the mirror and said, "No more running. No more excuses." I started waking up early, setting goals, and pushing myself even when it hurt. There were days when I wanted to quit, days when the voice in my head said, "You're not built for this." But I kept going. Because self-discipline isn't about being perfect. It's about being consistent. It's about falling down 7 times and getting up 8. And every time I rose, I discovered another layer of strength I didn't know I had. You see, when you master yourself, you begin to understand that your emotions are not commands. They're suggestions. Your fears are not stop signs, they're tests. Your comfort zone isn't home, it's a cage. Discipline is what sets you free from all of that. It's the ability to act according to your values instead of your impulses. It's the ability to say, I don't feel like it, but I'm doing it anyway. Look around you. The people you admire most aren't the ones who got lucky. They're the ones who stayed loyal to their vision long after the feeling of excitement faded. They showed up when it was boring. They pushed through when it was hard. They kept their word to themselves even when nobody was watching. That's mastery. That's freedom. The world will tell you that success is about what you have, but the truth is, it's about who you become. Money, fame, followers, those are results. But the real prize is the version of you that emerges when you refuse to quit. When you learn to master your hunger, your emotions, your time, you become unstoppable. You stop chasing validation because you've built your own approvals. You stop depending on luck because you've built your own momentum. Let me tell you something. Your future depends on your discipline today. Every decision you make is either strengthening your future or sabotaging it. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, you deposit power into your potential. Every time you choose excuses, you withdraw from your destinies. Freedom isn't found in doing what you want. It's found in doing what's necessary. And yes, it's hard. Discipline will test you. It will make you uncomfortable. It will stretch you in ways you never imagined. But pain is temporary. Pride is forever. The pain of discipline weighs ounces, but the pain of regret weighs tons. So if you're going to feel pain anyway, choose the pain that leads to growth, not the pain that comes from guilt. There will be days when you feel tired, when you feel like the world is against you. On those days, remember this: every champion was once a beginner who refused to give up. Every master was once a disaster who decided to improve. You are no different. You have greatness within you. But greatness won't come out until you learn to control what's within. When you master yourself, life changes. You start walking differently. You speak with confidence. You think with clarity. You no longer react to life. You create it. You become someone others look up to, not because of what you have, but because of the power that radiates from your disciplines. That quiet strength, that unshakable focus. That's what separates the average from the extraordinary. Ask yourself, what would my life look like if I truly mastered myself? What would happen if I stopped negotiating with my excuses and started demanding greatness from myself? What if, just for the next 90 days, you became fully committed? No shortcuts, no compromises, no backing down. You'd shock yourself. Because the limits you think you have are nothing compared to the power you already possess. The moment you take control of your mind, you take control of your future. And the moment you stop being a victim of your moods, you become the architect of your destiny. You don't need permission to be great. You need discipline. You don't need motivation. You need commitment. You don't need to wait for the right time. You need to start mastering yourself right now. Because when you do, you'll experience something most people never feel. True freedom. Not the freedom of comfort, but the freedom of purpose. Not the freedom of ease, but the freedom of power. The kind of freedom that comes from knowing you can trust yourself to do what needs to be done every single day, no matter how you feel. That's the moment you stop surviving and start living. That's the moment you stop being controlled and start becoming unstoppable. The real freedom begins when you master yourself. The real freedom begins with self-discipline. Real freedom starts when you gain control over your thoughts, emotions, and habits. Most people believe freedom is about doing whatever they want, whenever they want. But that's not freedom. That's chaos disguised as choice. True freedom isn't found in the absence of rules. It's found in the presence of self-control. It's when you stop being pulled in every direction by impulses, temptations, and fears. It's when you take the driver's seat of your own mind and decide what deserves your energy and what doesn't. It says, freedom begins the moment you stop letting your emotions dictate your actions and start letting your vision lead your life. Because if you don't control your thoughts will control you. Every day, you're having silent conversations with yourself. Most of them go unnoticed, but they shape your behavior, your confidence, and your destiny. When your thoughts are negative, when your inner dialogue is filled with doubt, fear, or excuses, those thoughts become invisible chains. They tell you what you can't do, who you're not, and why you shouldn't even try. But when you take control of that voice, when you decide that it will serve your purpose instead of your fears, that's when you step into real freedom. The human mind is powerful beyond measure, but without discipline, it can become your biggest prison. Your emotions are the next battlefield. People often say, I can't help how I feel. That's not true. You can't control what emotions arise, but you can absolutely control how you respond to them. When you let anger, sadness, fear, or anxiety dictate your actions, you give your power away. You allow circumstances to rule your inner world. Real freedom comes when you can feel fear, but still move forward. When you can feel anger, but still choose patience. When you can feel doubt, but still take actions. Emotional control doesn't mean you suppress your feelings. It means you manage them with wisdom. It means you can feel deeply without being driven blindly. Habits are the invisible structure of freedom. At first, discipline feels like restriction. It feels like you're limiting yourself. But over time, discipline creates structure, and structure creates space for greatness. When you build habits that align with your values, you don't need to rely on motivation anymore. You don't need to negotiate with yourself every morning about what needs to be done. It becomes automatic. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your habits. And when your habits are built on discipline, focus, and consistency, you become unstoppable. Freedom is not waking up and doing whatever feels good. It's waking up and doing what makes you grow. There's a certain kind of strength that comes when you no longer react to life, but instead respond with clarity. When you master your thoughts, you stop chasing validation. When you master your emotions, you stop being offended by everything. When you master your habits, you stop wasting your potential on distractions. You become calm in chaos, focused under pressure, and grounded in purpose. That's the power of self-mastery. It doesn't make life easier. It makes you stronger. And when you become stronger, life starts bending in your favor. Think about it. Every great achiever, every leader, every person who's ever changed their life started by mastering themselves first. They didn't wait for the world to get easier. They became better equipped to handle it. They learned that control over the self is the highest form of freedom. Because when you can say no to what doesn't serve you and yes to what aligns with your visions, you stop being a prisoner of temptation, fear, and doubt. You start walking with intentions. Freedom without control leads to destruction. You can have all the talent in the world, but without discipline, it's wasted. You can have all the opportunities, but without focus, they'll slip through your fingers. The greatest form of strength is calmness under control. And the greatest form of freedom is when you can live intentionally instead of emotionally. When you become the master of your thoughts, emotions, and habits, you become the master of your life. You no longer wait for permission to grow. You no longer live in reaction to your past. You start creating from your future. Because real freedom doesn't come from the outside. It's built from within. Through the power of discipline and self-control. Self-discipline is the bridge between your goals and your greatness. It's the silent force that transforms dreams into achievements, ideas into actions, and potential into power. Everyone has goals, everyone has desires, but very few are willing to do what it takes every single day to bring them to life. Discipline is what stands between the person you are and the person you're capable of becoming. It's that invisible line you must cross daily. Not when you feel like it, but especially when you don't. Discipline is the commitment to stay true to your purpose when the excitement fades and the struggle begins. You see, motivation is temporary. It's like a spark. It ignites your energy for a moment. But if you don't protect it with discipline, it burns out. Discipline is what keeps the fire alive long after motivation disappears. It's what makes you show up when no one is watching. What makes you keep going when progress is slow. What keeps you pushing forward when failure whispers that you should quit. Your goals are the map, but discipline is the vehicle that gets you there. Without it, you're just standing still, dreaming about destinations you'll never reach. Think about the people you admire most, the ones who've built something remarkable, the ones who've turned adversity into strength. They didn't get there by accident. They built their success on the foundation of daily discipline. They understood that small, consistent actions are more powerful than occasional bursts of effort. They understood that greatness isn't something you achieve overnight. It's something you earn over time by doing the work that others avoid. Every repetition, every sacrifice, every late night and early morning is a brick laid on the bridge toward greatness. Discipline is also the ultimate test of faith, because it requires you to act on what you believe in, even when you can't see the results yet. It asks you to trust that your effort today will pay off tomorrow, even when nothing around you seems to change. It's easy to stay consistent when everything is working out. But true discipline shines when it's dark, when it's lonely, when no one claps for you. It's in those silent moments when you keep showing up despite the doubt that character is built. Discipline molds you into someone unshakable, someone unstoppable, someone who cannot be defeated because they refuse to stop. There's a reason why most people never reach their full potential. It's not because they don't have dreams. It's because they don't have discipline. They chase quick results. They want comfort over commitment. And they mistake activity for progress. But greatness doesn't come from doing what's easy. It comes from doing what's necessary. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, you prove to yourself that you are capable of more. Every time you say no to comfort, you're saying yes to growth. That's how transformation happens, not in a single moment of inspiration, but in 1,000 moments of persistence. Discipline isn't glamorous. It doesn't get applause. It often feels lonely and unseen. But while others are sleeping, you're growing. While others are complaining, you're creating. While others are waiting for the right times, you're making time. And when the results finally come, when success finally shows up, the world will call you lucky. But you'll know it wasn't luck. It was the price you paid in discipline. And the beauty of discipline is that it compounds. The more you practice it, the stronger it becomes. At first, it's difficult to wake up early, to focus, to stay consistent. But once you build that muscle, it becomes your new normal. You start to crave progress more than comfort. You start to find joy in the process, pride in the effort, peace in the structure. Discipline frees you from the chaos of procrastination and self-doubt. It replaces confusion with clarity, weakness with strength, hesitation with confidence. Every step you take in discipline is a vote for your future self. You're building habits that will outlast the ups and downs of life. You're shaping a mindset that doesn't crumble when pressure hits. You're constructing the bridge that leads from who you are to who you're meant to be. And once you learn to walk that bridge daily, nothing can stop you. Because discipline doesn't just change your actions, it changes your identity. It teaches you that greatness isn't something you wish for. It's something you work for. It's earned brick by brick through the power of consistency, focus, and self-control. And when that bridge is complete, when you've crossed it with relentless effort, you realize that every step of discipline was worth it, because it brought you face to face with your own greatness. Comfort is the silent killer of dreams. Discipline keeps them alive. Comfort feels safe, it feels easy, and that's exactly why it's dangerous. It lulls you into believing that staying still is fine, that waiting a little longer won't hurt, that maybe tomorrow you'll start chasing what you really want. But tomorrow never comes for those who are addicted to comfort. Comfort doesn't announce its arrival. It quietly steals your potential while you're busy convincing yourself that you'll act soon. The truth is, no great story was ever written inside the walls of comfort. Every dream worth chasing lives on the other side of discomfort, uncertainty, and effort. Discipline, on the other hand, is uncomfortable by nature. It forces you to confront your weaknesses, to show up even when you're tired, to do the hard things when your mind is screaming for rest. But while comfort promises short-term pleasure, discipline guarantees long-term fulfillment. Comfort makes you soft, discipline makes you sharp. Comfort whispers that you deserve a break. Discipline reminds you that you deserve better. Comfort wants you to stay the same. Discipline demands that you grow. And the moment you choose discipline over comfort, you start breathing life back into your dreams. People often say they want change, but few are willing to experience the discomfort that comes with it. They want success without sacrifice, growth without struggle, freedom without effort. But comfort and greatness cannot coexist. You have to pick one. The gym is uncomfortable, but strength lives there. Waking up early is uncomfortable, but progress lives there. Saying no to distractions is uncomfortable, but focus lives there. Every meaningful transformation begins with discomfort. The question is, how much are you willing to endure to become who you're meant to be? Because the people who achieve greatness aren't those who had it easy. They're the ones who learned to live comfortably in the uncomfortable. There was a time when I believed that if something felt hard, it meant it wasn't for me. I used to back away the moment things got difficult. But every time I retreated to comfort, I found myself more frustrated, more restless, more stuck. That's when I realized comfort isn't peace. It's paralysis. It keeps you from seeing what you're truly capable of. And the more you avoid discomfort, the weaker you become. The more you choose comfort, the smaller your world gets. But when you choose discipline, your world expands, your confidence grows, your capacity increases. You stop being afraid of challenges because you've learned that the pain of growth is far lighter than the weight of regrets. Discipline is the fire that burns away weakness. It doesn't just build habits, it builds resilience. Every time you push through discomfort, you prove to yourself that you're stronger than your excuses. You start building trust with yourself, and that's one of the most powerful forms of freedom. When you know you can rely on yourself to follow through. When you know that your word to yourself means something else. When you start becoming unstoppable. Discipline teaches you that pain is temporary, but pride lasts forever. That the effort you invest today will echo in the results you see tomorrow. Comfort is seductive because it feels good in the moment, but it never satisfies. It gives you relief now and regret later. Discipline, on the other hand, gives you struggle now and satisfaction later. Every time you choose the easy way out, you pay for it with your dreams. Every time you choose the hard way in, you invest in your future. Growth doesn't come from doing what's easy. It comes from doing what's necessary. You can't build muscle without resistance. You can't develop courage without fear. You can't become great without discomfort. The process is supposed to stretch you, test you, and challenge you. That's how transformation happens. When you trade comfort for commitment, something powerful awakens within you. You start operating from purpose instead of pleasure. You start seeing challenges, not as problems, but as opportunities to grow stronger. You begin to crave progress more than ease. That's when discipline stops feeling like a burden and starts feeling like a blessing. Because you realize it's the only thing keeping your dreams alive in a world that constantly tempts you to settle. Comfort wants to keep you safe, but discipline wants to set you free. And the moment you stop chasing comfort and start embracing the grind, you begin to experience a new kind of peace. The peace that comes from knowing you're becoming the best version of yourself every single day. Mastering yourself means acting on commitment, not emotions. Most people let their emotions run their lives. They act when they feel good and quit when they don't. But if you only move when it's convenient, you'll never build the strength to reach anything meaningful. Commitment means you do what you said you do long after the feeling that made you say it has faded. It means you show up whether you're inspired or exhausted, motivated or discouraged. Because mastery begins when you stop negotiating with your emotions and start standing on your decisions. Emotions are temporary, but commitment builds legacy. There will always be days when you don't feel like it. Days when your energy is low and your mind is filled with doubt. On those days, you'll be tempted to take shortcuts or give yourself permission to pause indefinitely. But the ones who rise above average are those who keep moving even when it hurts. They understand that feelings are fickle. They change with weather, with mood, with circumstance. Commitment, however, stays the same. It's rooted in purpose, anchored in discipline, and powered by vision. You cannot rely on how you feel to guide your life. You must rely on what you've decided. The difference between winners and wishers lies in consistency. Winners act from commitment. They have trained themselves to follow through regardless of their emotional state. Wishers act from emotion. They let how they feel determine whether or not they'll take the next step. If they're motivated, they'll move. If they're tired, they'll stop. That pattern guarantees mediocrity because emotions are unreliable. Mastery comes from learning to lead yourself even when the fire inside flickers low. It's about becoming the kind of person who does what needs to be done, not what feels comfortable. Think about a professional athlete. Do you think they wake up every day excited to train? Of course not. There are mornings they're sore, tired, and mentally drained. But they show up anyway because their commitment is stronger than their comforts. They don't chase emotions. They chase excellence. That's what separates them from the rest. They've learned that emotion might start the race, but commitment finishes it. It's the same for anyone chasing greatness. You won't always feel inspired, but you can always stay consistent. You won't always feel confident, but you can always stay committed. When you act on emotion, you give your power away. You become a puppet of circumstance, reacting to every shift in mood and situation. But when you act on commitment, you reclaim control. You become grounded, steady, and reliable, not just to others, but to yourself. That's where self-respect begins. Every time you keep your promise to yourself, you strengthen your self-trust. Every time you follow through despite your feelings, you build internal credibility. And when you can trust yourself, your confidence becomes unshakable. You no longer need motivation because your integrity becomes your fuel. The mind will always try to talk you out of what's hard. It will tell you to wait for the right time, to rest a little longer, to take it easy just for today. But mastery requires you to do what's right. It's not what's easy. Every act of commitment is a declaration that your future matters more than your comfort. Every time you silence the voice of doubt and take another step forward, you reinforce your identity as someone who follows through. You start shifting from, I hope I can, to, I know I will. That shift changes everything. People often think success is about talent, luck, or timing. But in truth, it's about consistency born from commitment. It's about doing the work when nobody's clapping, staying focused when progress is invisible, and showing up when no one expects you to. Emotion can get you started, but commitment keeps you going when it's dark, quiet, and lonely. Acting from emotion builds temporary excitement. Acting from commitment builds permanent transformation. The world doesn't reward those who start strong. It rewards those who finish strong. When you master yourself, you stop letting emotions dictate your destiny. You learn to acknowledge your feelings without obeying them. You learn that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision to move forward despite it. You learn that discipline isn't cold. It's love in action, a commitment to your highest self. And with every moment, you choose commitment over emotion. You reclaim a little more of your power. Because self-mastery isn't about suppressing emotion. It's about leading it. It's about becoming the kind of person whose actions are guided by purpose, not by passing moods. That's where true strength lies. That's where real control begins. And that's where the journey to mastery truly takes root. The pain of discipline weighs less than the pain of regret. Discipline hurts, yes. It's uncomfortable, repetitive, and demanding. It asks you to sacrifice sleep, comfort, and temporary pleasure. It forces you to do things that most people run from. But as heavy as it feels in the moment, it's nothing compared to the crushing weight of regret. Regret is the pain that never fades, the ache that whispers, if only, long after the moment has passed. Discipline is temporary discomfort. Regret is a lifetime of wondering what could have been if you had just stayed consistent, just kept going, just believed a little longer. The truth is, every choice has a cost. You can choose the pain of discipline now or the pain of regret later. But you can't escape both. One builds you, the other breaks you. The pain of discipline strengthens your character, sharpens your focus, and builds your resilience. It shapes you into the kind of person capable of achieving extraordinary things. The pain of regret, however, drains you. It eats at your confidence, fills you with guilt, and leaves you wishing you could turn back time. Discipline might sting for a moment, but regret haunts you for a lifetime. Think about how many people carry dreams buried inside them because they couldn't handle the short-term pain of discipline. They wanted the reward witut the work, the result without the repetition. They said later. One too many times and later became never. Regret doesn't come from what you did. It comes from what you didn't do. From the chances you didn't take, the goals you didn't chase, the habits you didn't build. Discipline hurts in hours, regret hurts in years. Every time you choose comfort today, you borrow regret from tomorrow. The beautiful thing about discipline is that it pays you back in strength, confidence, and peace. Every sacrifice builds self-respect. Every time you push through the discomforts, you create a future version of yourself who's proud instead of disappointed. The early mornings, the late nights, the lonely hours, they all add up. And one day when success starts showing up, when the results begin to reflect your effort, you'll realize the pain was never wasted. Discipline may not feel good in the moment, but it always rewards you in the end. Regret, on the other hand, is empty. It gives you nothing back. It leaves you staring at missed opportunities, replaying moments you can't change, wishing you had started sooner. The worst part about regret is that it doesn't just live in your mind. It lives in your heart. It steals your joy and replaces it with doubt. It makes you question your worth and your choices. And while discipline gets easier over time, regret only grows heavier. The longer you carry it, the more it defines you. That's why choosing discipline isn't just about success. It's about peace. It's about knowing you gave your best, that you didn't let fear or laziness steal your potential. Discipline hurts because it demands effort when your body and mind crave rest. It pushes you to show up when no one's watching, to say no to temptations, and to do the right thing even when it's the hardest thing. But that pain builds strength. It builds pride. It gives you a sense of control over your destiny. Regret, on the other hand, leaves you powerless. You can't go back and redo yesterday, but you can endure today's discomfort to protect tomorrow's peace. Every act of discipline is an investment in your future happiness. Imagine standing at the end of your life, looking back. Would you rather say, "I'm glad I did," "I wish I had"? That's the question discipline answers for you every single day. Every choice, every habit, Every decision shapes that future moment. And while most people are running from the pain of effort, the disciplined are building a future free from the pain of regret. Discipline teaches you that short-term sacrifice is the price of long-term freedom. It reminds you that pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. So when you wake up tired, when your mind tells you to skip the hard things, when your emotions beg you to quit, remember this: today's pain will pass, but tomorrow's regret will stay. You can't avoid struggle, but you can choose which kind of struggle you live with. Discipline hurts now, but heals later. Regret feels easy now, but hurts forever. Every time you choose discipline, you choose freedoms, fulfillment, and pride. Every time you choose comfort, you choose regret, disappointment, and wasted potential. And when you truly understand that, you stop running from discipline and start embracing it. Because you finally realize it's not a burden. It's a blessing in disguise. The kind of pain that builds rather than destroys. The real freedom you seek doesn't come from external success, material wealth, or the approval of others. It comes from mastering yourself. It's about reaching a point where your emotions no longer control your actions, where your habits serve your goals, and where your discipline becomes the foundation of your identity. Freedom is not about doing whatever you want. It's about having the power to do what's right, even when it's hard. It's about choosing growth over comfort, consistency over excuses, and purpose over pleasure. The moment you decide to take full responsibility for your life, that's the moment you begin to experience true liberation. Every dream you've ever had, every goal you've ever imagined achieving, depends on one thing: your ability to discipline yourself. No one is coming to save you, and no one can do the work for you. The world will give you distractions, temptations, and endless reasons to quit, but it will also reward the few who refuse to give in. Mastery of self is the secret code to greatness. It's the difference between living by design or living by default. The person who controls their minds, emotions, and actions holds unlimited power because they are no longer a victim of circumstances. They are a creator of outcomes. Discipline is not just about rules. It's about freedom through structures. It's about training your mind to focus when it wants to wander, pushing your body when it wants to rest, and choosing progress when it's easier to procrastinate. The people who rise to the top aren't always the smartest or the most talented. They're the ones who stay consistent when others lose interest. They've learned that discipline is not a punishment, but a pathway. It's the daily decision to honor your potential rather than surrender to your excuses. Every small act of self-control is a declaration that your destiny matters more than your comfort. The truth is, life will test your discipline again and again. It will ask if you're serious about what you say you want. It will challenge your patience, your willpower, and your belief in yourself. But every test is an opportunity to prove your strengths, to rise above your past limitations, and to step closer to your purpose. And when you pass those tests, not by luck, but by discipline, you begin to transform from within. You gain confidence, clarity, and a deep sense of peace that no external achievement can replace. Because nothing feels better than knowing you are in control of yourself. In the end, the real freedom isn't found in escaping struggle. It's found in mastering it. It's the peace that comes from knowing you can trust yourself to show up, to fight through, to stay the course no matter how you feel. When you master yourself, you stop chasing motivation because you've built momentum. You stop seeking validation because you've earned self-respect. You stop fearing failure because you've learned that discipline always leads to growth. That's the highest form of power, the purest form of freedom. The freedom to live life on your terms,